Welcome back to K-Drama Cycle, where we uncover the untold moments, the emotions behind the spotlight, and the stories that make our favorite stars feel closer than ever. Today's story is one that left both fans and the media in absolute chaos. The unexpected reunion between Freen and Becky at a public event that no one saw coming. The air was electric that night. Freen was standing confidently under the bright stage lights, moments away from launching her solo brand, a project she had worked on tirelessly since her and Becky's official departure from Idol Factory. The crowd was loud, cameras were flashing, and her fans, the Freen Beck community, filled the entire venue. But nothing could have prepared them for what was about to happen next. As Freen began her speech, thanking her team and supporters, a sudden murmur rippled through the crowd. Phones shot up into the air. And then, there she was. Becky. Dressed elegantly, glowing yet calm, Becky walked through the entrance with a bouquet of flowers in her hand. The audience erupted into screams. Freen froze for a moment, visibly surprised. The look in her eyes was a mix of disbelief, happiness, and pure emotion. Becky smiled softly, walked toward the stage, and the crowd began chanting both their names, Freen Beck. Freen Beck. The reunion that fans had been praying for, waiting for, and doubting would ever happen, was happening right in front of their eyes. Freen stepped down from the stage, meeting Becky halfway. Cameras flashed relentlessly. When the two finally hugged, the room exploded with cheers, and social media quite literally went into meltdown mode. Within minutes, #FreenBeckReunion was trending #1 on Twitter. TikTok clips from the event were hitting millions of views, and fans couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Later, in interviews, Freen admitted she hadn't expected Becky to show up. She told me she was too busy. I didn't think she'd come, Freen said, smiling shyly. Becky, on the other hand, revealed, I didn't tell her because I wanted it to be a surprise. I wanted her to know how proud I am. That one gesture spoke volumes. Despite the rumors, despite the distance, despite the separate projects and new directions, Becky's presence showed that the bond between them was unbreakable. Online, fans began revisiting old clips of the two, laughing, filming, supporting each other during tough times. The nostalgia hit hard, and Freen Beck fans from across the world united in one message: they never really left us. As the night went on, Becky stayed beside Freen, even joining her for a photo session and a small backstage interview. The chemistry, the warmth, the familiarity, it was all still there. They spoke about how they've both grown independently, but also how they continue to support each other's dreams. That emotional launch event wasn't just about Freen's new project. It became a symbol of continuity, resilience, and friendship that has outlasted the noise of the industry. It was proof that sometimes distance doesn't end a story, it simply writes a stronger one. In the following days, netizens couldn't stop analyzing every look, every touch, every shared smile between the two. Even fellow celebrities commented online, showing support and admiration for how both women handled fame, pressure, and rumors with grace. Freen posted a heartfelt message the next day. Some people come into your life and never really leave. Thank you, Beck. Becky replied with a simple heart emoji, and that was enough to send the internet spiraling again. This moment reminded everyone why Freen and Becky's story has become one of the most loved narratives in the entertainment world, not just because of their past chemistry or their success, but because of how real and human they continue to be with their fans and each other. As the lights dimmed that night and the crowd finally dispersed, one thing was clear: Freen and Becky may have taken different paths, but they're still walking the same journey. Together, in spirit. This is K-Drama Cycle, where love, loyalty, and unspoken promises meet the spotlight. Stay tuned for more, because this story, just like their bond, isn't over yet. The moment Becky entered the venue, everything changed. Freen had been on stage for barely 5 minutes, confidently presenting her new brand, when a sudden wave of screams rose from the back of the hall. At first, Freen thought it was just the usual fan excitement until she noticed the shift in the air. People weren't just cheering. They were reacting to someone. And then the cameras turned. Becky had arrived. No announcement. No teaser. No schedule. No PR confirmation. She walked in quietly, dressed in simple black jeans and a white shirt, her hair tied back, looking effortlessly stylish. But even that simplicity couldn't hide her presence. The crowd lost control immediately. Phones shot into the air. Fans rushed forward. Staff members tried to maintain order, but the excitement was too overwhelming. It wasn't chaos, it was electricity. Freen, who had just been holding her mic to introduce a new product, froze for half a second. Her eyes widened, not in shock, but in disbelief. She knew Becky had been traveling. She assumed she wouldn't attend. But Becky was here, at her launch, walking straight toward the stage. And that's when everything became emotional. Becky didn't take a seat. She didn't stop halfway. She walked right to the front, almost like she was following an invisible connection. The fans noticed immediately. Their screams grew louder as Freen and Becky locked eyes. For a moment, time paused. Then Freen smiled. It wasn't her regular promotional smile, the professional one she uses for cameras. This one was softer, warmer, almost glowing. Becky saw it, and her expression changed too. She raised her hand slightly in greeting, but it wasn't just a wave. It was a message, a hint, a signal that she was there for Freen, not for the cameras. The fans caught everything. Online comments were already pouring in. She didn't come for the event. She came for her. The way Freen's face lit up, this is real chemistry. No one can tell me they're just friends after this. Becky didn't even try to hide it. She walked in like she belonged there. As Becky reached the front row, Freen actually paused her presentation to acknowledge her. And she didn't use the polite "thank you for coming" tone. Her voice softened. "You surprised me," Freen said. Fans screamed. Becky chuckled, shy but proud. "I didn't want to miss it." And that single sentence echoed across the venue. People who were recording suddenly stopped breathing for a moment. Everyone felt the weight of it. Becky could have sent flowers, a message, a repost. But no. She showed up. In person. Quietly. Without cameras. Without PR. For Freen. The energy in the room shifted. Staff exchanged glances. Managers smiled awkwardly. Even though this wasn't planned, everyone knew it was going to become the headline of the entire event. Then it happened, the moment that would dominate trending topics for the next 48 hours. Freen stepped off the stage. She walked toward Becky. The cameras shook. Fans screamed. Security hesitated. But no one interfered. When the two finally stood face to face, Freen leaned forward and gave Becky a gentle, warm hug. Public, unplanned, and undeniably real. And Becky hugged her back without hesitation. The entire hall exploded. The hug wasn't long. It wasn't staged. It wasn't polished. It was raw emotion, the kind that fans instantly recognized as genuine. Freen's hand rested lightly on Becky's back. Becky's head tilted closer. It was the kind of embrace that speaks louder than 1,000 official statements. When they pulled away, Freen whispered something. No mics picked it up. No fans heard it. But Becky's expression said everything. Soft, bright, almost shy. Whatever Freen said hit her heart. By the time they returned to the stage area, social media was already in meltdown. Hashtags were trending. Fan pages were posting live. TikTok editors were dropping transitions within minutes. But the biggest twist was still ahead. When the event ended, both Freen and Becky walked backstage together, side by side, close enough that their shoulders touched. And unlike past events, neither of them separated for interviews. They left the venue, together. Fans outside caught them entering the same van. And that moment spread like wildfire. The internet didn't calm down for hours. Every platform was buzzing. They didn't even try to hide. This moment will go down in history. Freen and Becky just broke the internet again. And for once, neither of them denied anything. They let the moment speak for itself. A moment that fans will replay again and again, because sometimes actions reveal more truth than any announcement ever could. The moment Freen and Becky stepped into the van together, the noise outside erupted into absolute hysteria. Fans who had been waiting for hours could not believe what they were seeing. Not just Freen leaving her own launch event, but Becky leaving with her, without hesitation, without excuses, without creating distance the way celebrities usually do. Inside the van, the air felt different. Softer, calmer, more intimate. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Freen looked out the window, still processing everything that had just happened. The screaming fans, the cameras flashing, the hug she didn't even realize she needed until her arms were already around Becky. And then Becky's voice broke through the silence. You really didn't think I'd come? Freen looked at her, surprised by the hint of vulnerability in her tone. Becky wasn't teasing. She genuinely wanted to know. I didn't want to expect too much, Freen admitted quietly. You've been busy. You're exhausted. I didn't want to pressure you. Becky leaned back, eyes soft but firm. You're not pressure. Those words hung in the air like a confession. Freen's breath caught. She looked at Becky again, this time really looking at her. The dark circles she had tried to cover with makeup. The tired eyes. The quiet determination. She must have rushed from her schedule, cutting her own commitments just to be here. Why did you come? Freen asked, her voice gentler now. Becky hesitated for a moment before answering. Because it mattered to you. The van grew even quieter. Because it mattered to you. That was something fans had said for years, guessing, hoping, imagining. But hearing Becky say it out loud made it real in a way that no rumor ever could. Outside, the van began moving, but the world inside stayed still. Becky shifted slightly, turning toward Freen more fully. You've always shown up for me, she continued. Every event, every moment that counted. I didn't want this to be an exception. Freen swallowed hard. She didn't expect emotion to rise in her chest so quickly. But it did, and it was overwhelming. I didn't know you were watching, Freen whispered. I always watch, Becky replied. And that was the truth. From the corner of her eye at events. From backstage before joint appearances. From the holding area before fan meets. From across busy rooms filled with stylists, cameras, and staff. Becky always looked for Freen first. She always found her. And Freen always felt it. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was full. Heavy. Charged. Finally, Becky broke it with a small laugh. You froze when you saw me walk in. Freen covered her face with one hand. I didn't freeze. I was just surprised. You were shocked, Becky corrected, smiling. Maybe a little, Freen admitted. You stopped breathing, Becky teased. Freen lowered her hand and gave her a look. Well, what did you expect? You barged into my launch without telling me. You mean without warning you? Becky shot back, raising one eyebrow. And they both laughed. The tension melted instantly, replaced with an easy familiarity that only comes from years of knowing someone, years of working together, supporting each other, protecting each other from the harshest parts of fame. I wanted to see your face, Becky said after a moment, more serious now. Freen turned to her fully. Why? To remind myself why I do all this, Becky said softly. Those words were even heavier than before. Freen didn't know how to respond right away. The honesty, the tenderness, the vulnerability, it was all so raw. She looked down at her hands, suddenly aware of how close they were, how their knees touched lightly whenever the van turned, how Becky's presence always changed the energy in the room, even when she didn't mean to. Becky shifted again, this time closing a little of the distance between them. There's something else, she said quietly. Freen's heart picked up speed. What is it? Becky hesitated, not because she didn't want to say it, but because once she did, everything would change. When I walked in, Becky said slowly, I wasn't expecting that hug. Freen blushed, caught off guard. I don't know. It just happened. I'm glad it did, Becky replied. Their eyes met. For a moment, the noise of the world outside, the fans, the whispers, the rumors, faded completely. It was just the two of them, sharing a moment that felt far too intimate for a moving vehicle filled with staff. But the staff were polite. They kept their eyes down. They pretended not to hear. And Freen and Becky stayed in their own little world. What happens now? Freen finally asked. It wasn't a naive question. It was a necessary one. Whatever they just shared would not stay private. The internet was already exploding. Fans were already analyzing every second of video. Becky didn't hesitate this time. Whatever happens, she said softly, we face it together. Freen felt something warm bloom in her chest. A feeling she had pushed aside many times, convincing herself it was just friendship, just loyalty, just years of working in sync. But moments like this made the truth harder to deny. The van slowed as it approached a private exit. Staff outside moved quickly, clearing the area so they could slip away unnoticed. When the door opened, Becky stepped out first, then turned and offered her hand to Freen. Not professionally, not politely, but gently, intimately, as if they were more than just co-workers, more than just a duo, more than just a brand. And Freen didn't hesitate. She took Becky's hand, and they walked out of the van together, side by side, close enough for the world to wonder. Was this the beginning of something new, or the reveal of something that had been there all along? The internet was about to explode all over again, and this time, neither Freen nor Becky seemed afraid.